let's learn Soql, which stands for Salesforce Object Query Language. As we know, data is stored in objects in Salesforce, and it is a kind of data structure which holds all the data, and these data structures are defined implicitly by force.com platform. Now, to retrieve and manipulate data, we need some kind of language, and that is in the form of Soql. And this Soql is actually derived, or you can say the idea is borrowed from structured query language, which is used in RDBMS, relational database management systems like mysql, Oracle, etc. But it is different from structured query language, and because it is designed and optimized for the force.com database, it is really different from SQL. Now let's learn how we can write Soql queries, as well as we will see where we can execute queries. So here let's try to understand the structure or a syntax of Soql. To learn any programming language, we'll have to learn its construct. Similarly, to learn any language, we'll have to learn its construct. Today I am going to cover Soql, which stands for Salesforce Object Query Language. As we know, data in Salesforce is stored in object. The objects are actually implicitly defined by force.com platform to manipulate, to populate data in these objects. There is one kind of service which is provided by force.com platform, that is called Soql. This is not a general purpose structured general purpose query language like SQL, which is widely used in RDBMS systems like mysql, Oracle, and MS SQL Server, etc. Though the idea is borrowed from structured query language, but it is really different from this, and it is designed and optimized for the force.com database. It means that it is designed in such a way that it would retrieve and manipulate the data in force.com database. There is one more thing, it is actually integrated with Apex programming language. Like in other programming language, there are ORMs, uh, which stands for object relationship mapping, to actually map proprietary database fields data type with the programming languages provided data types. So in Salesforce, it is actually tightly integrated with Apex. So if you don't understand this, forget this for now. You will understand what I said just now. So now let's begin writing Soql queries. To learn any language, you will have to learn its construct, how they are organized, how they can be written, and what sequence they can be written, what input it takes, what output it return back. So these are all the part we'll have to learn. And here we see one syntax for writing Soql queries. Here if you see, select is a keyword, and after that there would be one or more fields separated by comma from that particular object. We can enforce few filter statements to filter out our result set, and optionally there is a facility to sort our result set based on any field, and that too with ascending and descending order. If you see the example over here, you would see it matches with the syntax. So here ID and names are field name of that particular account object, and after where we have put a filter criteria which says if annual revenue is greater than the value provided here, and if the type is customer direct. Again, there is another condition which says that last modified date is equals to this year. Again, this is a long criteria, but yes, this you can put with several combinations. And here if you see order by name, it actually sorts the result by name in ascending order. Don't bother, we would see all the queries practically. So let's try to write a simple query. As you can see in the screen, this is the simplest query we can run. Now let's see where we can run where we can see the output. As we are beginning SOQL, and if you are the beginner of Apex programming language and as well as SOQL, you need to understand that first, to practice we'll have to run queries somewhere in a tool, and that tool is force.com developer console. Here you can run your Apex code and you can do so many things, and because we are learning SOQL, let's concentrate on that and see where we can write SOQL queries. So let's write that simple query over here. Select, let's see, let's say we want to get ID, name, email, phone, birth date from contact object, and let's click execute button. Here you see result, and if you see this result, it is actually fetching all these fields from this contact object. Though this is a very powerful tool, here you can also manipulate the data. For example, if I want to manipulate this, I can do, but as you can see, I cannot edit this because this is a read-only field which you cannot manipulate. But if I want to put some kind of detail over here, I can do here something like this. Now here you see a highlighted red mark which indicates that this row has been edited, in particular this email field has been edited, and we can save it. So here multiple purpose can be achieved using this query editor. Now let's make it a bit complicated. Though it won't be complicated, but let's put some filter criteria. Let's say we want to fetch the record in which the name field is equals to Lokesh Gupta. Let's see how we can write that. So I'm introducing one where clause over here, and after that we are going to put our condition. So condition is something like name equals to this string. So here it would get the record which have name as Lokesh Gupta. So you can see all the results, all the queries which we are running have a different tab spawn. Now let's try to make it even more complicated, though that won't be more complicated, but yes, we can make it more complicated by using logical operators. So what are the logical operators? Logical operators are basically returns the results in true or false. So if we combine this with an AND operator, it says that if name equals to Lokesh Gupta and email equals to, here I am writing that, then only fetch the data. So this is a strict condition, so it would actually check both. So in all the results in database, and in particular in contact object, it sees where Lokesh Gupta is. So here it finds over here. Now again it goes for checking this email field, and it checks against this email ID. So if it finds the record, it would result in a single row. But let's see, I make some mistake over here. So what it would do actually, it would actually first see whether name is equals to this string. Yes, it found. Now it would check whether email is this, which I have actually modified to make you understand what I am trying to explain you. So if this is true, it means this condition is true. It checks for this. So if it checks this and it found that this is not being satisfied, it would result in 0 records. So this is about AND condition. It would retrieve only single row if I make it correct. So here we can see the result. Now this was about AND logical operator, and there is another which is called OR operator. So in OR operator, if either of the conditions satisfied, it would actually fetch the result. So let's say where name equals to this and email is something else. So it should result in 2 records. Here we can see 2 records. Now again, if we say that where or email equals to blank, then it would result in something else. So here we get 4 and 1 rows with this criteria. It means 5 records fetched. So one more thing to notice, this equal sign actually is a kind of comparison operator, and this comparison operator compares against values against some field. There are few more comparison operator. Let's see, we can put this as negation, and it clearly says that if email is not equal to blank, so all the records which have email and in which there is no space, you can retrieve the data for this particular query. Let's run this. Okay, so almost all the records from 23 records, from 23 records it's fetched 19 records for us. So this is another operator we have covered over here. Now one more thing is we can actually use, which is, let me find one field if we have in contact, and here we can navigate to contacts object, and I want to check all the fields whether it has some kind of numeric field available or not. I don't think so here is any kind of numeric field, but yes, if we go to accounts, let's try to find out fields and let's check out if there is any numeric field. So here number of employees, okay, and there is number. Okay, so here are few. So what we can do, we can actually form a new query for this account object. So let's run that. Query editor, then let me find these fields along with this number of employee field from account where number of employee is greater than 0. Let's try to run this. So here we have got 11 rows. So let's remove this and see the overall result set. So here we have 17, but by this condition we got only 11 records. So there are few rows where number of employees are actually equals to 0. So if we want to get that result as well, we will have to put OR condition something like this. So we have got here as well 11 records out of 70. Okay, so this is about using comparison operator. There are few more operators. Let's check in this presentation. Here we have like operator, which is kind of fuzzy logic, in which we can implement fuzzy logics. Like if we want to it was a spelling mistake. Okay, so let's see what is this like clause, and to see that we can use this object as well. So let's, where if I have to write like query, I'll have to write it after where, and let's say where name, and let me write one query for you something like this, which has uni. So this percentage is called wildcard, and it actually defines that if you put this, if you put any string inside these percentage, it means get all the rows which have UNI in its value. So if we see, we have here 2 records we can see here only, but there can be more, like 1 2 3 4 records. So I'm expecting 4 records from this. Let me close other tabs so that, okay, so let's first find all the account records. Now let's run that query again from account where name like. So here we have 5 results. Now let's try to find out this pattern. It says that Okay, it says that find all the records which have name fields ending in account 2. So here we have one record only. Yes, this is true. We have only one record only. Now we can find few more such examples, like the one here, transport Arizona source. This is the one, account master 2 3. So difficult to find though. Okay, so let's find some other pattern which have LG as starting of that string. If we find this, we are expecting 1 2 3 4 and 5 records again. So here we have got 5 records. So this is how we can use this like operator to actually retrieving all the data based on a pattern. What next? The next one is in clause. Let's see this as well. Okay, so the in clause meaning it would find all the record which is inside in clause. Let's see if we want to find the record of this ID and let's see this ID. So here we can write the query name in, oh sorry, ID in, and here we can enclose those possible values here separated by comma. So let's copy this and let's copy this. When we write this and execute, we are expecting these two results, LG count 1 and gene point. Let's run this. So this is very useful queries which we can use to retrieve the data from Salesforce object. Now we can run not in queries as well. So we are just doing opposite. Here we get all the results except these two IDs. So suppose you are implementing some logic and you have got some IDs for which you have to retrieve data, you can use something like this. And there is one more thing we can see. Let me actually change it to something else. What happens? We can see from here. It would actually fetch one record only which have a perfect match. So in this case what I have done, I had edited the value, but if I change something like this, appending few more strings after the ID, it may result in some kind of error. So let's see what is this error. It says that invalid ID field. Yes, certainly it is an invalid ID field because the ID length is 15 or 18 character. If you put this much of this many of characters after ID, it is certainly going to be converted to a result set. So this is about in clause. Now there is another include and exclude. Suppose we have a multi-pick list. So include and excludes can be used in that context. Let's see how. For that I'll have to find any multi-pick list field. So let's do that. and let's go to this contact object. From there, let me find picklist. Okay, so here we have hobbies, which is a custom field as a pick list. Let's see what are the possible values in this hobbies field. Here we have these three fields. So let's see how we can use that. Let me copy this and see where okay, let me change this to, okay, one more thing. Here you can see all the queries executed by you. So here you can actually, if you have run it previously, you can click on this and it would appear here, but I have to change this hobby C from contact object, where hobby C includes hooking. So if we retrieve this result, select ID comma name comma hobbies from contact. So what is being wrong over here? Hobbies. So I don't know what is wrong with this, but let's create few records with, let me edit few of records. Where's that? I don't see hobby here. Let me set that for you. Here fields, hobby, hobbies. Here we have hobbies, what I didn't find. Okay, let's create few records. Here location Gupta, not putting, why it is not showing hobby. Okay, let's do one thing. We can create a field over here, another field. Let me go over here. So multi-picklist next. Oh, it's taking time. No worries. Let's give it a name. Multi-picklist. And visible links for, okay, short. Let's set these as a default. Okay, yes. So let's these two and click on next. Let's make it visible everywhere, and then on next wizard we can make it available for these layouts and make it save. Now let's refresh this and let's see if we have that multi-pick list. Yes, we have. So let's do one thing. Let's create one contact for us. Okay. And let's select this and say save. Let's fill a few more. Let me choose this. Here what we can do, we can select both. Let's save this. So here we have cooking and travel. Now let's try to run this query. Oh, let me get the name of that field. Every time I prefer to copy field name because that's the weird thing when you forget to, or when you make a mistake right by typing the field name. Let's run this and here we get the result. So as you have seen that we had two results. In one we had only one cooking, but in another we had cooking and travel both. So whichever records contains or includes the possible list which I have provided here, this query should return a result. It should return the result from both because I have written that any of this would be sufficient to get the result. So here we got only one result, and excludes is just opposite of this include clause. Okay, now let's see one more thing, which is sorting of your result. So let's see that as well. So if you do order by clause over here, then you'll have to provide a field name by which you want your result set to be sorted. So let me choose name and name, but in which order, ascending or descending. So here we can choose any, and for ascending we'll have to write ASC, for descending DESC. So let's run this. Here we have got the result. Let's delete this condition so that we can check this query against all the records. So here if you see, it is showing us as a descending order. T starts first, and there is one more thing, which is nulls last. So there is one more nulls last which would actually instruct this query to fetch the result where uh, fetching fetching from descending order, but null should be in last of the result set. Let's see how. So here if you see, we don't have any name blank, or so let's find few more fields to see the result properly. And for that, let me go to account object and then field. So here we have here we have one field which is, let's take any text field. Let's choose SIC and let's include this in this list. SIC. Let's take this. Oh, sorry, we are using contact object. That's my mistake. Let's go to contact object, and there I know few fields. Like I know there is one field which is phone, one is email. Here we have. So now let's sort this order by email, in which it sorts the order by descending, and it actually puts null as a last in that particular search or sorting order. So here we see the record in which null is there comes last. If you do so, like first, nulls would appear first. Here we can see this. But I would like to tell you one thing. In case of pick list, it is different.